you're watching Screaming Fish here, people, and today I feel like I'm the last person on the planet to see this movie, because, oh my god, the reviews for this movie have come in quick, and also, yeah, I've just been genuinely really excited to see this movie. So yeah, as you can tell by the incredibly obvious title below the screen, we are talking about Wonder Woman. Yet another movie that I feel bad about talking about in front of a Marvel background and in a Star Wars t-shirt. Just fantastic. Anyway, let's get on with the review so you can actually hear my thoughts on Wonder Woman, the fourth movie in the DC Extended Universe. After the previous three films in the DCEU, I can definitely say that I was losing hope for this franchise. While my opinions of these movies have changed over the years, as of now, none of these movies so far have really impressed me all that much. That said, I was still really excited to see Wonder Woman, partly because Wonder Woman herself has a show-stealing scene in Batman v Superman, and also because of the cast and director they have on board for this movie. So no matter how skeptical I was about this movie, I still would have gone to see this movie anyway, even if the critical reception had been bad. Which it has most definitely been not. In fact, critics are absolutely raving about this movie. And after seeing the movie for myself, I can very gratefully say that this is the first legitimately great movie in the DCEU. While I was excited for this movie to begin with, I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I actually did. I think before the raving reviews from critics even came in, people were still really skeptical about this movie after critics panned Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad. Well, surprise! It's amazing, and I dare say one hell of a surprise hit. This is definitely a turning point for the DCU, and a huge win for Warner Bros. And DC. Anyway, enough of my rambling on about how great this movie is, let's actually get on with what I liked here. I loved Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman. She has an absolutely show-stealing scene in that movie, even if her appearance was very brief, and I loved her even more in this film. It actually feels like Gal Gadot was born to play this role because she owns absolutely every scene, with a performance that's full of joy, hope, and compassion. I would say that this is by far the most charismatic performance in the entirety of this universe so far. The biggest praise I can give her performance in this film is that she comes off as very real. In fact, the way Wonder Woman as a character is handled in this movie is actually really interesting. The best aspect of this movie is Wonder Woman discovering the world outside of her homeland Themyscira. This is a person who has never seen the world for what it truly is, and therefore doesn't know how to interact with others the way you would normally do, or how to handle certain situations. She's not one of those characters that just knows absolutely everything. She has a lot to learn and is very naive. Seeing the world through the eyes of someone such as Wonder Woman is actually really enthralling, and even more so as she discovers the beauties of the world and the absolute horrors of it all, and the true devastation war can bring to the world, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes. This movie isn't just about the origin of Wonder Woman, it's also about going on this journey with Wonder Woman as she learns more about the outside world and what's been going on. There are actually two individual storylines in this movie. The first act is Chris Pine crash landing in this place, and he doesn't understand anything about what's going on and who Diana aka Wonder Woman is. And soon he learns more about Diana's upbringing. And then the other storyline is, as you already know, Diana leaving her home and learning about the real world and what's been going on with World War I and the world in general. And what's fascinating about both these storylines is that we get to see these two characters teach each other things about their individual worlds, which was really cool to see. Like I said earlier, these aren't characters that know everything there is to know about the world. So seeing these two characters teaching each other about these things was really refreshing to see, and I feel something we don't often see in superhero movies. Chris Pine is fantastic in this movie. He was really likable and charming, and similar to Gadot, he owns every scene he's in. The chemistry between him and Diana is gold. It makes for some really compelling conversation between the two, and it brings a very overwhelming sense of equality to the film. This is actually a really equal movie. This isn't something like 2016's Ghostbusters, where the film makes every attempt to make you feel like a horrible person purely because you're a man. It feels very equal. Chris Pine isn't just some weak dude that Wonder Woman has to keep saving. He actually brings something to the movie and Diana as a character, and it works the same way the other way around. Not only does the relationship between Pine and Gadot go to emotional heights that I wasn't expecting it to, but it actually makes for some great comedy, and that's another pro I have with this movie. This movie is extremely funny. Not all the jokes landed, but considering I actually laughed out loud quite a lot during this movie, that's a very small handful. The movie even goes as far as to make fun of the more cheesy and goofy aspects of Wonder Woman's origin story in a really effectively hilarious way. They understood what elements of her origin story were goofy enough to poke fun at and make a joke out of it, and it works really well in this film. Patty Jenkins and the screenwriter thankfully took the time to add moments in the movie where it just slows down to have smaller moments for the characters to grow and develop. There's a scene in this movie where Pine teaches Diana how to dance, and while it does mean a lot for their characters, I was just genuinely overwhelmed that they took the time to add in small moments like that. We don't normally get to see that in movies like this, and it fleshes out the relationship between these two characters so much more, and thankfully there are a lot of scenes like that in this movie. I was just fascinated that I was actually seeing these characters just be people. This is really the first time in the DCEU where I've actually felt something when watching one of these movies. When this film wants to get emotional, it really does get emotional, particularly in the finale. This emotional weight is something that I feel has been lacking in pretty much all the DCEU movies that came before it. Man of Steel just rushed through Superman's origin story like it was nothing. Batman v Superman was a convoluted mess with too many storylines and side plots, and Suicide Squad, while admittedly fun, never really developed its characters enough for me to actually care, and was just one big messy city scene. It's actually unbelievable that Wonder Woman is the 4th movie in this franchise, and somehow the only one where I've actually cared about all the main characters. This movie even went to emotional heights that I wasn't expecting it to. The feeling I got from Wonder Woman that I was not expecting to feel in the slightest was that it feels like a war film. Yes, this is technically a superhero movie set in World War I, but that setting isn't just there for visual extravaganza. Director Patty Jenkins wisely makes use of this setting to show all the worst things about war. There were scenes in this movie where I was actually horrified at what I was seeing as soon as the film got into Wonder Woman, Pine and the crew going to fight in No Man's Land. The action in Wonder Woman is spectacular. The action this time around actually had real emotional weight. It wasn't just included for destruction porn, or just to show how cool and badass these characters were. I was actually worried for these characters every time there was an action scene on. But aside from that aspect alone, the action in this movie is genuinely incredible. There is a lot of action in this movie, but there are 3 main set pieces in all 3 acts. There is an incredible sequence that takes place on her homeland, and of course a World War I sequence, which absolutely blew my mind to pieces. It was so good. And of course, there's the big epic finale. For the most part, the action is really satisfying. The finale of this film is very entertaining, but it does become a little CGI heavy at points. There were a couple of moments where I could clearly tell the characters were just stood in front of a green screen, and there were some shots that reminded me of that terrible Doomsday fight in Batman v Superman. That may turn some people away from this film. However, for me, I would say that it was handled a hell of a lot better here in this film than it was in Batman v Superman in terms of how it was cut together. For one, I could actually see what was going on this time around, but the reason I like the finale so much more than I like the finale in Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad is because I actually cared about the characters this time around, and the finale had a lot more meaning, intensity, and emotion backing it up. As for the villain characters, I like them, the actors portraying them gave pretty darn good performances, and a couple of them had some especially cool scenes, but I will admit they could have been written better and definitely fleshed out a lot more than they were. But that didn't bother me all that much, because this is a movie about Wonder Woman growing as a character and discovering the world for what it is. So that didn't bother me too much, seeing as how 90% of this movie is focused on Wonder Woman herself. The movie is also very long, similar to the other 3 movies in this franchise, but I think this time it was more warranted in order to work for this character. This movie is about her upbringing, where she came from, why she is who she is, and her roots in general. All those elements are handled extremely well here. It doesn't just have 2.5 hours of scenes that are just shot and edited to bits. It actually feels like they put time and effort into editing and cutting together this film. One thing that this movie keeps up, which is something that the other movies in this franchise did really well, is that Wonder Woman is a really good looking movie. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad all had their problems, but nonetheless they were still really good looking movies for the most part. And Wonder Woman is no exception. The camera work is terrific, and even the film's editing style has this rapid and intense force to it that I thought added a lot more enjoyment to the action sequences.
The film also has a minimal but effective use of slow motion. There is a slow motion shot of a bullet deflecting off Wonder Woman's gauntlets, and in 3D, which is how I saw this movie, it is truly spectacular. The CGI in Wonder Woman is also really good. There are a few times in the finale where it's pretty obvious, but aside from that, the special effects in Wonder Woman are fantastic. Every time Wonder Woman jumps to 50 feet high or is flying into the sunset, it looks beautiful. And it was nice to see a DC film that was actually colourful for once. So yes, Wonder Woman is a great movie. Not just the first actually great movie in the DC Extended Universe, but it's a great movie in general. I cannot wait to see what's in store next for Wonder Woman, because one thing's for certain, this is an awesome character and someone I very much want to see more of in the future movies. And it has certainly gotten me more excited for Justice League. Wonder Woman is a blast from start to finish, and I seriously recommend you go see it.
So guys, those are my thoughts on Wonder Woman. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and quick question before I go. Have you seen Wonder Woman? What did you think of it? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And once again, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And I will indeed see you guys in the next one. But also, can I just say, it is boiling today. I don't know how you guys are feeling right now, but I am boiling. I'm going to take my shirt off later. It's just so unbelievably hot. Anyway, bye guys.